He's joining us from the State Department. Michelle, President Trump is telling United Nations Security Council members the North Korea situation is unacceptable.
Hi, Wolf. Right. Yeah, the threats, the provocations, the rhetoric from North Korea are a constant. They're a threat to the world. And we know that members of the UN Security Council were at the White House discussing this today. The entire U.S. Senate has been invited there on Wednesday to discuss it. And tonight, U.S. officials tell us that, yes, North Korea has been advancing its weapons and conducting nuclear tests over time. But the level and pace of the provocations has reached a point that this is an urgent problem. And they say that strategic patience isn't working. North Korea poised to conduct another nuclear test at any moment, according to U.S. officials. The rogue nation has now detained an American professor and is threatening to sink a U.S. aircraft carrier, quote, with a single strike, a gross and monstrous animal which the whole world has been afraid of. Claiming, too, to have weapons ready that can hit the continental United States. President Trump today, with members of the UN Security Council, says the status quo is unacceptable.
The Council must be prepared to impose additional and stronger sanctions on North Korean nuclear and ballistic missile programs. This is a real threat to the world, whether we want to talk about it or not. North Korea is a big world problem, and it's a problem we have to finally solve.
U.S. experts don't believe North Korea currently has the capability to strike the mainland U.S. with a nuclear weapon, but is getting closer.
Given the level of provocations, the pace of provocations that North Korea continues to carry out, there's an urgency here.
The minute North Korea gets a missile that could reach the United States and put a weapon on that missile, a nuclear weapon, the instant that happens, this country is at grave risk.
How far away do you think that is?
I think Mr. Trump will be dealing with this in real terms before he starts his second term.
But where the U.S.'s own tough talk in the last few weeks included open discussion of military intervention, the U.S. going it alone, the latest statements from the administration focus on diplomacy and partnerships. The Pentagon calling on North Korea to change course and return to serious talks. The State Department saying the U.S. will hold Kim Jong-un accountable for his recklessness through diplomatic, security, and economic measures. The Chinese president called for restraint in a phone call with President Trump. The U.S. still expressing hope that China will more aggressively freeze out North Korea economically to try to change its behavior.
We're encouraged by the steps that China has taken thus far. That being said, we also wanted to make it clear that all options are on the table.
As the American aircraft carrier Carl Vinson begins military exercises with Japan in the Western Pacific, the Trump administration says the Chinese suggestion to end such military collaborations with South Korea in return for the North stopping its nuclear tests just won't work.
North Korea has done nothing but give every reason why we need to have military exercises in South Korea. And what we're saying is, look, we're not backing down from South Korea, and North Korea just needs to get in line.
You heard the president today talking about the possibility of additional sanctions. And for now, the State Department is focused on trying to get other countries, especially China, to better enforce the sanctions that do exist. In fact, the Secretary of State is heading to the UN this week to talk to his counterparts about that. Although today, State Department officials wouldn't name any other countries that they feel aren't doing enough to pressure North Korea. And of course, we know that so far, at least, all the sanctions that do exist have not changed North Korea's behavior. Wolf.
Good point, Michelle. Thank you.